You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Infinite diversity.
Prosper and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the BQN Podcast Collective. I'm your host for today, Chrissie, and joining me, of course, is my co-host, Thad. Thad, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. I'm not really prepared for this meeting, so I'm just going to keep driving in a circle until I'm ready, but other than that, I'm pretty good.
No, that sounds reasonable. Get a little research in before you can, last minute. Yeah. Done that before exams. It seems to work. All right, and joining us today is Alex Perry from the Weekly Trek Podcast and Trek Core. Alex, how are you doing today?
I am very well, thank you, Chrissie. And hey, Thad, how are you? It's good to talk to you again, not 24 hours after you were just on my show.
Indeed. Yeah, it's going to work out really well because they're going to come out like the same day, practically.
Yeah.
It's a race. Who can get the medicine?
People are going to get
first. Real
tired of both of us.
Podcast listeners, it's Super Thad and Alex Week.
Yeah, it sure is.
All right, well, before we jump into our topic for the day, we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons who make this show possible, particularly our associate producers, Carl Wonders and Justin Oser. Listeners, you can hear your name listed as one of our associate producers for a monthly subscription of just $10 at patreon.com/BQN. And with a monthly Patreon subscription of just $5, you can join our Meetings of the Hive Mind on the second Saturday of each month. Watch your Patreon messages for details. All right, so this is the one that everybody's been waiting for. The DS9 episode.
Yep.
The Lower Decks DS9 episode. And now that it's passed, the one that everybody's going to be waiting for is going to be the Lower Decks Strange New Worlds episode sometime next year, and that's fine. Got a lot of good stuff in between, too, though. Mm-hmm. All right, so first impressions. Alex, you turn this on, get over the heart attack, and then what?
I mean, I loved it. I thought this was a great episode of Star Trek Lower Decks and a great episode of Deep Space Nine, and I think that's probably why I loved it as much as I did, right? I mean, that's a tall challenge to do this kind of crossover episode, especially one that there's so many expectations ultimately riding on from so many fans, right? And especially in the sense that from the perspective of Deep Space Nine fans, right, we kind of just want another episode of Deep Space Nine, and you could easily have seen the Lower Decks production crew just being like, well, we'll just give them an episode of Deep Space Nine, right? And the Lower Decks cast will show up for 30 seconds and then hand it over to the Niners and then we're off to the races. But it actually is, in addition to being a great visit to Deep Space Nine, I mean, this is a Lower Decks episode. You can't call it anything other than a Lower Decks episode, and it's a great Lower Decks episode in addition to having really great Deep Space Nine elements to it. So I thought it was an extremely successful episode in that regard.
Yeah, I can't say more than that. Thad?
I mean, I really can't say anything that would better put it than how Alex just so eloquently described it. But yeah, it was fantastic. Because they teased this at San Diego Comic-Con. They showed us the opening scene, the cold open, and I mean, I've been super excited for this ever since I saw that, and I was in love with this episode from start to finish. Had a big grin on my face when we got to see Kira, Quark, Morn, all three of them voiced by their original actors. You can't prove that Mark Allen Shepard didn't come in and sit at a microphone and say nothing. And I loved everything about this episode. I thought they did a good job blending Deep Space Nine and Lower Decks because we saw DS9, we got our characters, they did things that we would expect from the DS9 characters, but then we also had Lower Decks stories, and I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, a good blend. I think that's the best way of describing it, right? In the sense that they it was a Lower Decks episode and it was a Deep Space Nine episode, and it was sort of a Lower Decks episode of Deep Space Nine and it was a Deep Space Nine episode of Lower Decks, and I guess we'll probably unpack what that means a little bit more once we get into talking about like what was in the episode itself.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and I think of all the shows to glom together, I think these two work best together, because DS9 was always good about having humor amidst insanity at times and dark times. And we haven't seen, I was about to say we haven't seen much dark times on Lower Decks, but there's been kind of.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it's a good mix, just like DS9 was, and yeah, and I think all the people on the cruise right now were saying, like, yeah, let's have another episode. If we could have another episode of DS9, we would. So let's try to make that happen. And they did it beautifully. Answered some of the questions right off the bat.
Or at least answered the questions for now.
Well, okay. Okay, I'll give you that.
Because, like, you know, we know it now for 2381, but that doesn't mean we know it for 2401 when Star Trek Picard Season 3 will presumably be set.
That is
well,
true.
that just means we need to visit DS9 again in Picard
Exactly.
Season 3.
Yes. Yes. Or annually on Lower Decks. Make it like,
Why not both?
you know... Well, okay. True. Yeah, why not both? That's fine. You know, yeah, if it's on Picard next year, then they could skip next year, just, you know, so people weren't expecting it. And then the year after, it's kind of like the Mirror Universe episodes. You get to a point where you're like, oh, there's going to be one.
Exactly. Yep. Precisely.
Well, I guess I should say the one question that was definitely answered was the Bajorans are still in charge of the station as of that date.
Which is interesting. There is an episode of DS9, I think it was Rapture, but I could be wrong, where Sisko is talking with Starfleet brass, and they talk about how once Bajor joins the Federation, the Bajoran militia would get folded into Starfleet.
Yes.
Yes.
That clearly has not happened here.
Well, I mean, it's entirely possible that Bajor is not a member of the Federation by 2381.
Well, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
I mean, we get I get the impression, at least, at the end of the show, that Bajor will be joining the Federation, but I suppose we don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
How many years out are we from...
This will be 6 years after What You Leave Behind.
Okay.
What You Leave Behind was 2375, and this episode is 2381.
Yes.
Okay.
Interestingly, it is the first episode set in 2381, according to the Lower Decks production staff, which is interesting because there was an episode last season where we saw a flashback with 2381 New Year's celebration, but we'll chalk that up as not being quite accurate.
Did they say it was the first in 91 or 81 or 82?
No, this year is the first in 81. All of Season 1, 2, and Season 3 up to this point took place in 2380.
Same year.
Which is a jam-packed year.
Yeah. Well, they're just trying to fit everything in so that they don't have to do the Romulan supernova in Lower Decks.
That's fair.
Yeah. Well, and that's 20-some-odd episodes for 1 year, so that's consistent with the way 90s Trek worked, actually.
That's also... Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Dr. Aaron McDonald has a formula that they use for star dates.
Yes, that's where I saw that, the Twitter thread.
100% the same as it was in the 90s, according to what she says, but is very close in the fact that each year goes up, not the first digit, but the second digit of the star date. And so... Yeah, she says hopefully at some point they'll get to share that formula with the world, but so far it is apparently a Paramount trade secret.
So far it's a state secret.
I guarantee you somebody's figured it out.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody always figures it out.
Well, that somebody wasn't Paramount, that's for sure.
Yeah, right.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, we should talk about news for a second, actually.
Yeah, because I didn't have a news segment down here, but when you mentioned Paramount doing ridiculous things, it reminded me that today, as of today, the Trek movies are gone off of Paramount Plus. They can't even have the stuff that they own on their own streaming service.
I know that licenses are complicated, and movie licenses are apparently even more complicated. So, like, they're probably licensed to someone else, but they were already there. Like, why? It doesn't make that much sense to me.
No.
Disney has all of their movies on Disney Plus. I mean, why can't Paramount? Yeah.
So somebody told me today it's an Epix deal that was a long-term deal.
Oh, and Epix is owned by
Yes.
Paramount. Okay.
And that the Epix deal ends at the end of next year. So,
Well, Epix is going away. It's turning into another Plus service. I forget what it's going to be called now.
It is? I didn't know about that.
Yes.
Okay.
I forget. I just saw an article about that. It's not going away. It's becoming another thing.
Oh, okay, because there is just a straight-up Epic streaming service now.
Right,
And,
and
like,
that's
you can
going to
get it with your
become
cable.
something else. It's becoming MGM Plus.
Oh, okay. The house that Gone with the Wind and Birth of a Nation built. Great.
It's because Amazon bought Epix from Paramount, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And Amazon also bought MGM last year. So now they are rebranding Epix as MGM Plus. Now, why in God's name Amazon wants to run a second streaming service? Why did Paramount want to run a second? Well, they didn't. That's why they sold it. Why? When Amazon bought Epix, it would have made far more sense, in my opinion, for them to have folded that into Prime, even if they want to make it like an extra tier in Prime or something. Why?
It will be.
Well, yeah. Well, every streaming service can be another tier in Prime, but that's
Right. Yeah.
But it's weird to me that they're doing it as a separate streaming service and not just like Prime Plus or Prime to the Max or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Well, if it's still associated with an existing cable channel, I think that's where they have to have the differentiation. Because we have Epix, and I can log into the Epix streaming app with my cable company info and watch whatever I want.
Right.
Right. So I think that might be where the issue is with that. But at least that explains it, because like Epix was is apparently one of those channels where they always had the Trek movies on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
At least, okay, so we have Spectrum, and they always had a little slot in the on-demand called Trek Fest, and it was just all the movies, or, almost all of the movies, depending on what the licensing was that week. But that actually makes more sense now.
I mean, regardless of whether it makes sense or not, it's dumb.
Ridiculous.
It's a bad look.
Yes.
It is stupid. It's annoying, it's frustrating, and the fact that they behave like this is one of those things about movie studios, right? Like, if it's an Epix thing, just say it's an Epix thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
the fact that they just let the movies disappear off of the service and don't say anything like, guys, we're really sorry. We know we've told you this is the home of all Star Trek, but for the next 3 months, you're not going to be able to get the 10 Star Trek movies. And here's when they'll be back on the service. And here's when they'll permanently be on the service, right? I get so fine. They signed some legal agreement 10 years ago and whatever, however long ago it was. And it was a 10-year deal, and Paramount Plus has, launched in that time, and they want to have all the movies on there, but they can't. That's okay. Talk to us. Right? Don't just, rip the movies off and put them back on again, because all of the corporations' messaging around Star Trek and everything they have done around removing the shows and the movies from other streaming services and reversing them entirely back to Paramount Plus tells us, in no uncertain terms, that Paramount Plus is the exclusive home for all Star Trek content. And if that is the marketing tagline that you are planning to use, then do that thing, right? Like, if you say you are going to be the home of all Star Trek, then be the home of all Star Trek. And that includes all 13 of the movies, 14 if you include the motion picture director's edition, which also disappeared from the service today and is not available now. It's Blu, right? They just released it on Blu-ray.
Thank God they released it on Blu-ray, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to watch that anywhere.
Right. So if you're going to say that, do it. Otherwise, you're taking the fans for a ride and just proving once again that you are a supremely subpar streaming service.
Mm-hmm. And they're missing an opportunity. Just saying, they're missing an opportunity here too, because they could have a little thing that says, "Hey, it's going to be on Epix. Subscribe to Epix. Here's a month free, or something, or 2 weeks free." And then, I realize they don't own Epix anymore. Is that what we were saying earlier? So they could split that money with Amazon.
They may not have ever owned Epix. I thought they did, though.
Well, either way, though, they could have cut a deal. They could have been like, And then you've got people who are subscribing to another service. Paramount can take a little off the top. The other service is going to benefit, and then people will forget, because that's what you do. You sign up for a streaming service and you forget about it until
Epix was owned by Paramount. I was right about that.
Okay, so all the more reason that they could have just redirected people for this period of time. Okay, go ahead.
So here's the thing. What's really, I understand that but they could tell us, they could also have it on the Paramount Plus app and website telling us it's coming back this date. When Disney launched Disney Plus, they had a bunch of, it was mostly Marvel movies that they had exclusive deals with Netflix from before they had their own streaming service. So those movies were still on Netflix and were not on Paramount Plus at launch. But all of those movies got their own page, not Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, got their own page on Disney Plus that said what date they would be coming to Disney Plus.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Paramount could do that with their movies.
And that is the thing that annoys me the most about Paramount Plus, and the thing that annoys me the most about people who defend Paramount Plus's behavior in this regard.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Is that it's not like they're the only people running a streaming service and they get to set the terms of what's possible and what's not, right? When it comes to things like simultaneous same-day releases, which apparently, the Paramount Plus outside of the US release date is not the same as the Paramount Plus release date for the US. It made sense to me when it was if it's an entirely different streaming service, where the money's going to another company, that you would want people to watch it day one on the one you own, and then the rest of the world see it day two. But the fact that it's their own streaming service, it's their own damn streaming service, and their plan is for the US to see it on Thursday and for the rest of the world to see it on Friday, is nonsense and a choice, because none of the other streaming services do it that way, right? Nope. And so, it infuriates me, because they are making choices.
Amazon launches their shows earlier in Europe than they do in the US.
Yeah, and it's okay for if it launches midnight.
They launch at the same time everywhere.
Right.
The same time time zone everywhere. So people I wake up in the morning, or rather I can see Twitter, people in Europe reacting to Rings of Power before I can watch it.
Right, and that's okay, right?
And that's fine.
They put up with plenty of that from us.
Midnight everywhere.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it's just they're making choices, and they're making bad choices, and we shouldn't let them off the hook for that, because other streaming services know how to do this in a fair and equitable way for their customers all around the world. And to bring it back to the movies, right? And they have demonstrated that if there are complicated licensing deals that are impacting the availability of certain content, there are ways to message that to fans, where fans are going to be like, fair enough, happy to wait however long it takes for you to kind of hold up your end of the bargain, but you give me the information I need at this point, because I watched Insurrection 2 nights ago. It did not say on the Insurrection page that the movie was going away today. I'm glad I watched it 2 nights ago and didn't decide to wait a couple of nights, because otherwise it wouldn't be on Paramount Plus.
They've had those messages before, because we talked about the ridiculousness with when First Contact got that stealth 4K upgrade earlier this year.
And then it was going to disappear, and then it didn't disappear, and then it was going to
disappear, and
now it disappeared.
Yeah, but they said this movie will only be there until this time, and it's absurd. I understand licensing does weird things, but yes, they could definitely be better about their messaging, or have messaging about this. Paramount just... Yeah. On that note, we should also briefly mention other news is that Star Trek 4 is officially not happening again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I can't interject on this one because, as Thad knows, I made a pledge on my show last night that I was not going to talk about Star Trek 4 anymore until there was actually a real movie that was in production. So you guys enjoy talking about this one.
Can we just say that none of us thought it was actually going to happen?
Yeah. Star Trek 4 will always be the one with the whales.
Yeah.
It has not been replaced.
If you want to hear
what
I think, or at least hope, will be next in the future of Star Trek movies, listen to me on Weekly Trek, where I have a very interesting theory at the end of the episode.
Yes, you do.
Ooh. Plug for other show. Oh, okay.
I'm on it. I plugged this show on that show.
I'm teasing.
I literally, there's at one point in that show, I say, if you want to hear what I think about this episode, listen to me on Infinite Diversity.
That's perfect then. I love it.
Yeah, it's synergy.
Anyway, I'm just teasing.
Okay. So I think that's all the important news that we can talk about. Let's get back to DS9.
Yeah. Right, where were we? The station's being run by Bajorans. I think that's where we left off.
Yes!
And they have evidently not joined the Federation. Okay, so the obnoxious Orion kid... Mesk, yeah. Is he the only Starfleet uniform we see on there that isn't associated with the Cerritos?
No, we do see a couple of others. There's one more.
There's a few in the background.
Yeah, they're all in the background, though.
Okay.
And it would make sense that there would certainly still be Starfleet there, because, I mean, they're still calling it Deep Space Nine, so it's clearly still a Federation-managed space station.
Yeah. Okay. I went back and looked the third time I watched it, and I guess I wasn't looking close enough, but... All right, so Bajorans are still running the station.
Yes, the one place where Starfleet is noticeably absent is in Ops when Kira arrives. All of the officers that you see in Ops at that point in time are Bajoran militia. You don't see any Starfleet crew, but you do see them on the rest of the station.
Okay. Let's see here. I guess jump over to what brings the Cerritos to DS9, which is negotiations with the Karma.
That
for
is
Tullaberry wine.
My one disappointment is that we didn't get James Cromwell for a second episode this season to voice the Karama guy.
I don't know. I thought Fred Tatasciore did a pretty good job.
Fred Tatasciore did a good job. Yeah. You're not wrong. It took me halfway through the episode before I was like 100% sure that was Fred Tatasciore.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I had no idea during the episode. I saw later. But I wonder if they even considered doing that, since they were going to have him in the booth for the other one anyway. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's kind of funny.
They didn't have room because they had to have Mark Allen Shepard be in the booth and say nothing.
in costume, because that's the only reason. Yeah, they didn't put him in the credits. They
would have nice put him in the credits, but then they would have had to have paid him if they did that.
Yeah, that's true. Like they can't afford it. Oh wait, maybe they can't. Yeah. I don't know.
I would have loved it. Yes.
Yeah, he should have been. But that's all right. Okay, so small tangent on Morn. Okay, I remember reading in the remember when we had a magazine for each series plus the Star Trek magazine each month.
Yeah, because there was the magazine for the series, plus there was Star Trek Communicator, and then there was Star Trek the magazine, which was I love Star Trek the magazine. That was my favorite of the Star Trek magazines. The late 90s, early 2000s Star Trek the magazine, the one with the pull-out info briefings that you in the UK you got those as the Star Trek fact file. But...
Sure did.
Oh. I remember handling those at the bookstore, and I read them when I was working at the bookstore in the late 90s and early aughts, but I don't think I would read them in the grocery store. I was not obsessively reading them the way I had been a few years earlier. But anyway, I remember, this sounds crazy to me, but I remember reading that the reason why Morn never talked was because they couldn't figure out how to get the suit to work and allow his mouth to be open at any point.
Partially that, and also they just couldn't be bothered to pay him, because if they had started talking, they would have had to have paid him for it. So it was a twofer.
Okay. Yeah, because I have a distinct memory of reading. It's like, yeah, if I tried to talk in this suit, it'd break my jaw or something like that. He was exaggerating, but obviously it stuck with me, so...
Yeah, they talked about it for Who Mourns for Morn, and there were two reasons why they decided not to. One was because they would have had to redesign the suit, and they didn't think it was worth it for just one episode. And two, because somebody was then like, and that means we'd have to pay Mark Allen Shepard, and they were like, oh, okay, yeah, no, we're definitely not doing that.
Well, pay him more, you know.
Right.
All right. I hope they were paying him for being in that... Ugh. Yeah, pay him more. Right, so the Karma, absent James Cromwell, the Karma felt to be a little bit like Scooby-Doo villains with the whole, like, well, if our first plan doesn't work, then, oh, look at this bomb that's under my chest.
They would have gotten away with it, too, if it hadn't been for those meddling Orions.
Exactly. Exactly. So, what'd you think about bringing the Karma back? Of all of the plot lines that could have put us there, that's an interesting one.
That one got an actual, like, legitimate whoa out of me when they mentioned the Karma at the beginning. Like, oh, wow, okay, cool.
I loved it. I mean, from the perspective that we have really seen nothing connected to the Gamma Quadrant or the Dominion really since Deep Space Nine ended. It was really nice that for a Return to Deep Space Nine episode, they made use of a Gamma Quadrant species, which meant that you saw a ship coming through the wormhole, you know, which meant that the wormhole was part of the story. And so it wasn't just about the station, but it was also just about the whole sort of Deep Space Nine-iness of it. And of all the races that they could have picked, the Karma are an interesting one. I mean, especially since, you know, my sort of sense of the Deep Space Nine part of the episode is that this is a classic Quark episode, right? He's got a get-rich-quick scheme, and it fails, and he ends up losing most of his money at the end of the episode. Like, the Karma are a good kind of tie into that, given, you know, his history with them, but also just the fact that then you're playing in that sphere of economics, which obviously they play in, rather than if it was like, you know, the species of hunters who hunt the tusk, right? Like, how are you going to kind of, you know, sort of weave them into, hey, you got legacy character Nanar Visitor, you got legacy character Armin Shimmer, and you need to find a way to pull all of this together. So I thought that was good. I mean, obviously they sort of shied away from acknowledging the connection between the Karma and the Dominion and kind of talking any more about what that meant for the Dominion. And I'm kind of fine with that, because I don't know that I really want, you know, my galactic political history updates to happen through Star Trek Lower Decks, but they handled it, you know, really well, I thought, and it was nice to see them again. I enjoyed John Fleck's performance as a Karma in The Search Part 1, and I enjoyed James Cromwell in Starship Down.
Yeah. They did address the Dominion War thing, and it was like, oh, we weren't involved in that, even though we all know they were. But it was in context, it makes perfect sense.
The Karma weren't really, other than the fact that they made the torpedoes for the Jem'Hadar. But like they weren't fighting.
Yeah, the same way we weren't involved in Nicaragua in the 80s.
Right, exactly. That was all the Contras, and yeah. All we did was, you know, sell a couple guns to Iran. What's the big deal?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you with politics. Forgive me.
And I just sounded. I just want to be clarified to any listeners who are listening. I am in fact being satirical. Please don't think that was me being serious. But yeah,
no Reagan apologists here.
Well, I guess what I want to say is that the Karma were never, even at the height of the Dominion War, they show that the Karma, well, I guess not the height, but even during the Dominion War, they showed that the Karma were not completely just towing the line with the Dominion. They were willing to work with the Federation the whole time.
Yeah. Play both sides. Profit. That's fine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I did think it was interesting. It was a nice, not quite a deep dive, but I think of all of the choices they could have made to make this work, that was like, wow, wasn't expecting that, worked perfectly. Which is just more proof that these people know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. And know their Star Trek.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the only other species I think could work, but wouldn't because they just had a cameo last week, would have been the Wadi.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The Wadi would have worked as well.
Oh, that would have been
they
fantastic.
just had a cameo the previous week, so
Yeah.
that would have
Right.
been, yeah.
Yeah.
Stop putting people in games!
Oh, that I kind of hope that they do a Wadi Lower Decks episode now. Aren't they planning on doing a musical at some point?
They want, yes.
That might be the one to do.
Well, they didn't say no. They didn't say for sure that it's going to happen. But
Okay.
I think we all want one to happen. And Tawny Newsome is a huge musical nerd. So that
I
said,
might be the
I
only
still
Trek fan that.
want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you going to say you're not a musical fan?
Yeah,
Oh, well, I'm sorry. We can't all
Sorry.
have good taste. But
this is true.
I still think, as much as I would love a musical Lower Decks episode, I still wish if we're going to do a musical Star Trek episode, it should be on Discovery, because you got Anthony Rapp and Wilson Cruz right
Oh
there.
God, yes, yes. Well, maybe they can visit the Cerritos in the same way that we're going to see them in Strange New Worlds. Just
That's
totally
also
unknown.
true.
Anyway, yes, listeners, I'm not a fan of musicals. Hamilton was fine. I think Disney movies put me off musicals as a child. That's it. Because my question was always like, nobody just stops what they're doing and sings about what they're doing.
I stop
So
what I'm
that's
doing and
always bothered
sing all
me.
the time.
Yeah, but do you make up a song about like, I'm washing the dishes and this is how I wash the dishes, and then you have a chorus of the dishes singing with you? No, that
Sometimes,
doesn't work.
well, the dishes don't normally sing back, but sometimes, yes, I do.
All right, well, more power to you then, and I'll be quiet. I sing all the time, just not about what I'm doing. So
I sometimes do. I mean, I also sing just songs, but yeah, no, sometimes I'll just be like, do you like a sing-songy voice about the things that I'm doing? Yeah, sometimes.
okay,
But no, my dishes have never
Proven
sung back
wrong.
to me. That would be pretty cool if they did, though.
good. That's good. If they do, I think
Check the house for fumes.
there you go. Anyway, so Shax describes DS9 perfectly.
Tacky,
Fascist
fascist,
architecture.
Cardassian asshole. Oh,
I saw.
I saw.
I
No,
saw full of
that's him
assholes
describing.
when- at the
That's him
time.
describing Gul Dukat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tacky, fascist, Cardassian asshole was called you hot. Yes. Oh my god, how cool would it have been if we had gotten, like, Marco Limo in this episode?
Yeah. Obviously not Ducat, but he could have done one of the voices of the Karma or something. Just as a
Yeah.
little Easter egg that unless you knew.
Yeah,
Maybe
unfortunately,
future.
if you've heard Mark at conventions lately, I think his the smoking habit that gave him that rich, gravelly voice in Deep Space Nine has degraded his voice even further to the point that you can hardly recognize.
You
that it's
wouldn't
Marco
have
Limo
recognized
at
him
this point.
as the Marco Limo of the 90s, that's true. He has he definitely has the voice of someone who has been smoking all his life.
Like constantly smoking all his life.
Yeah.
Like even while he's
okay.
asleep, there's a cigarette sticking out of his mouth.
I know people like that. So, yeah. Anyway, that's too bad. Yeah, so, and then we have the wonderful Shax and Kira run into each other. First of all, she has the baseball. Mm-hmm. The baseball, which I love. I think I had a running count going, and I think they've saved each other's lives at least 5 times, not counting what we see in this episode. I might have missed one. Listeners, if I missed
I
one,
really
let me know.
enjoyed that they were going back and forth on that. You saved me from this, but you
Yeah, that
saved
was
me
a
from
fun
that.
runner. Yeah.
That was perfect. That
Also,
was absolutely perfect.
I saw someone tweet, I think it was either this morning or last night, someone tweeted a photo of Kira when you first see Kira and she's standing there looking out at the wormhole, and someone tweeted it out with a caption saying she's still waiting for him, which I thought was great.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely what that moment is meant to communicate to you, which is
Yeah.
that Cisco is still in the wormhole.
Okay, you just raised all the hair on my arms. I love that. Oh, very cool. Yeah.
Which, interestingly, minor sidebar, they've been talking about this new ongoing
I was about to
Star
mention
Trek
that.
comic launched by IDW, which had Cisco having come back, and they stupidly, I think this is really dumb, right? When you do something like that, and naturally the question comes up, oh, is it canon? And the answer was given, well, it's canon until it's not, because we've picked this period of time when, no one can tell us that stuff's happened or hasn't happened. And it's like, first of all, bringing back Cisco, huge. Second of all, this episode pretty clearly indicates that. So this episode's set in 2381. That comic series takes place before the events of Star Trek Nemesis. So in the behind times.
Yeah, because Data's in it.
Yeah. That, like, Cisco is not back. So that's okay. I'm still going to read. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to read every issue. I'm going to have a great time. It's going to be a great story. I'm fine with it. Like, I like tie-in fiction doing whatever they want to do with it. I think they should have kept the books timeline around because, like, of course, audiences are sophisticated enough at this point with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and all that, all this about alternate timelines and different universe. I mean, Star Trek's had one for a decade and a half at this point, but yeah, so I think for me that sort of puts to bed the no, like within established Star Trek, it very strongly indicates that Cisco is still in the wormhole by 2381 and has not come back yet, and should they decide to tell the story of him coming back, I just typically tend to feel like that shouldn't happen in a comic, right? That, like, if you're going to tell the rest of that story, it should happen somewhere more important.
A movie
Movie,
with Sirach
TV show.
Lofton as Ben Cisco, because
Or they managed to, back up the, like, $5 billion to Avery Brooks's house to convince him to come out of retirement.
Right. Or just don't do it. I mean, that's the other thing too, right?
Yeah, leave it a mystery.
Just leave it as a mystery and not addressed.
Or
and
yeah,
it's
just
fine.
give it. Or I mean, because if you want to read a very good interpretation of Cisco coming back, those Star Trek novels that Alex mentioned that they're no longer doing did it really well. The DS9 relaunch novels were fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's 100 books for everybody to read. You start with the Time 2 series and go from there.
You can the DS9 relauncher ones you can read as a standalone if you want to, and
That's
not,
true.
not
Yeah,
kind of
technically
get into...
the DS9 relaunch started before a Time 2.
Yeah.
No, I know, but there was that weird jump, and they don't
Yeah.
necessarily reconcile, so that's where I was going with that.
Avatar through Unity, an excellent run of novels.
Yeah.
Very good.
Seven or
that's
eight
true.
novels.
That's true, and that's before those, so yeah.
Quick aside. The other week, last month when they had Star Trek Wrath-a-Con in the theater again, I went to see it with Caleb Dorsch and Carl Wonders.
Yeah.
And we're sitting in the theater like 15, 20 minutes before its show starts. A lady sits down next to us and says, do you guys know? Do you guys ever listen to Star Trek podcasts? Because of course we all are on podcasts.
Sure.
And that lady ended up talking at the end about how, well, now she needs to go home and watch the terrible movie Star Trek 3. So I don't care about her opinions anyway. But yeah.
All right, so the other thing that question answered, thing confirmed, I guess, additionally confirmed, is that Quarks is franchised 21 as of, I have the wrong date on here, 2381.
And I'm wondering if that includes just the regular Quarks, or that includes both the regular Quarks and the Quarks Express, because he mentions that. So I'm wondering there might be even more Quarks Express out there.
Yeah, I don't know, how does Starbucks count it? Big B.
Yeah, right.
And I'm guessing the Quarks Express is probably just the replicator, like in a corner somewhere.
Oh, probably. Yeah, and it's like a gift shop.
Yeah,
it's probably like a phone booth sized replicator, and you can buy a little Quark plushie or the ears or something. Yeah. I think it was Mike McMahon tweeted about how Armin Shimmerman brought in his Quark teeth, and it made him laugh so much.
Well, I'm so glad he did, because that's how he sounds like Quark.
Yeah.
I don't understand, I get, like, Mike McMahon is not thinking about that maybe in that kind of context, but part of Quark's voice is Armin Shimmerman trying to talk around those teeth. So if he hadn't brought them with, it wouldn't have sounded right.
No.
So of course he did.
The one thing I will say is that Armin does sound a little, completely understandably, it was 23 years ago, he does sound a little out of practice with the teeth.
Yes.
And that's the only bad thing I have to say about the episode.
Okay.
I will say that both Armin and Nana sound older, but that's because they are.
They are older, yes. But even adding in being 23 years older, Armin sounded a little out of practice wearing the teeth. Which, again, totally understandable.
There's
and
a
having the
to
teeth
this.
adds more than not having the teeth.
Yes.
But yes, that solution is that he should do more of this. And I agree, because then he would get the practice he needs.
They can bring Armin in as a regular character. Lower Decks Season 4, he can be the bartender on the
Excellent.
Cerritos.
Good idea.
I think I see no problems with this plan.
Me neither.
That's inconsistent with his character, but okay. Unless you're going to have him playing a different Ferengi, which I think would be funny,
there'll be some
actually.
other thing that means that he loses all his money and like Mariner owes him a favor or something, so he ends up on the Cerritos. You could write it
in the bar where nobody has to pay for anything. Yeah, that makes sense. Put a big Guinan hat on him.
but like shaped like Ferengi ears, like
Yes. Oh my god. All right, so they go to Quark's. I'm jumping over Jennifer and Mariner. We'll get back to that. They go to Quark's, and Tendi and Rutherford run into an Orion equivalent of Worf.
yeah,
Raised by human parents, doesn't actually know what his own culture is.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because Worf is totally cosplaying a Klingon like throughout his entire. Yeah.
Until interestingly enough, I would say sometime until when he's on DS9, maybe in the middle of his run there. Yeah. That's when he really learns. But I did appreciate that we got some species differentiation on the green. He looks like the green that you put on to make sure that people don't hit you at night, when you're jogging. So very different from Tendi. What'd you think about his character in that part of the story?
I really like this part of the story. I didn't like the character of Mesk. You weren't supposed to, and I didn't like him in the way that I wasn't supposed to. I liked the story overall. My favorite thing about this story, and somebody else told me this, I didn't come up with this by myself, even though I wrote this in my review as though I had come up with it by myself, and I'm confessing that here. This is exclusive on Infinite Diversity, that this was not an original thought that I had. But it's the Tendi arc in this episode is a very Deep Space Nine-y arc for the character of Tendi, because it is about... Right, Deep Space Nine, for so many of those characters, was about learning to reconcile who you want to be with what your upbringing tells you that you should be. And, finding your best self in the conflict and tension that lives in between those two propositions. And so even though Tendi set foot on the promenade, but didn't interact with any of the Deep Space Nine characters, did not really interact with the Deep Space Nine story outside of the final sequence of, stopping the Karama ship from arresting Quark, had the most Deep Space Nine story on the whole episode, even though there were not kind of big recognizable Deep Space Nine elements to it, because the whole heart of the show itself, the whole heart of Deep Space Nine itself, is in that part of the story, and I love that about it.
Yeah. Once again, Alex says it more eloquently than I ever could.
No, that was someone who is much smarter than me.
Oh, okay.
Well, you didn't
say it,
they didn't, Cyrano de Bergerac and just tell you everything. You explained it in your own way. It's fine. More than fine. That was very... I like that. This is interesting how she's having to reconcile that. I like that with it. What you gonna do with the tooth? Well, it is kind of gross. Which, at first, I was like, well, she's a nurse. Why would she think that a tooth in and of itself is gross? And then I think in the second or third watch, I was like, oh, it's how she got it.
Yes.
That's the gross part,
right.
not
Yeah.
the tooth itself. So.
Yeah, I mean, she pulled that sucker right out of that guy's mouth.
Also,
With her
I will
Orion
say,
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
I will say, as someone who has been shipping Tendi and Rutherford since season 1, this episode adds more fodder to that fire, because there's the scene right before Mesk shows back up, when Tendi and Rutherford are pushing the cardboard before the crate before Mesk shows up and says he's been assigned as security for them. And Rutherford's like, "Oh, it must have been great to hang out with a fellow Orion," and she says, "It was, but I'd much rather spend the whole day with you." And I'm just like,
"Yep,
yeah." I would say,
sounds like a smitten kitten to me.
Yeah, top 5 Star Trek ships for me. Tendi and Rutherford is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I'm on both sides of that because I love the portrayal of a platonic relationship across gender, but at the same time, they're really adorable together.
Well, see, we can get both in this show because Mariner and Boimler are definitely platonic. There is nothing romantic there, and there shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. But Tendi and Rutherford, I really do think they deserve to be together.
Give it time. Mm-hmm. There's lots of stories to be told on Lower Decks yet.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And speaking of randomly breaking out into song, that was good, where he was just singing like he wasn't quite sure what he was singing. He was terribly off key. And I have no ear for music, but even I could tell that. And
dark and heart of space, Ryan's take from every race.
Yeah, and then I was trying to figure out like what tune that is, and I was like, is that like Christmas music? I couldn't tell. I don't know. So whatever the tune was supposed to be, if it was supposed to be anything, but that was good.
Oh, I should not have sung that. Now that's going to be stuck in my head.
Sure is.
Yep,
that was your mistake.
That's maybe why I don't like musicals. Things get stuck in my head. That's the reason. That's a good reason. And then just finishing up in Quarks, Bold Boimler.
Bold
Brash Boimler.
Okay, at what point is Bold Boimler going to blow up in his face and crash and burn? It's going to happen at some point.
I don't think it is. I think the whole point of Bold Boimler is that it's a Lower Decksy way of helping to evolve the character to to somebody who's more confident and ready to like go up the ranks of seniority.
You know what? And I just thought of this as you were saying that. He's kind of akin to Julian Bashir in that way.
Oh, sure, yeah.
He's going to learn and grow and mature. He's just putting a name on it instead of...
Yeah, but Julian Bashir's problem was that he was already bold at the beginning. He just didn't know anything. He was too bold. He was too brash and too confident. And
out on the frontier.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
This frontier is my home, Doctor.
Yes. The locals, they'll appreciate your medical knowledge. Just quote everything. Yes. No, he was, but I'm talking about the immaturity part.
Okay, yeah.
Because Boimler does have immaturity about him.
Yeah.
Yes, just a bit.
Yeah. And they both have foot and mouth disease, which is,
Yes.
not unusual for people in their 20s in general.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
I thought it was interesting how they changed his look as he's going. His hair changed, like it had gotten sweaty and he pushed it back and he had his collar open, and that is something we never see him.
The hair looked a lot like it did in the episode where the red shirts were gearing him to be very commanding, I thought.
Yes, but poofier.
Yes.
It was Anson Mount hair. But I thought that was interesting. Yes. It wasn't. To have the physical, the look change. I don't know, just it was an interesting way to go with that.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. I mean, it was a fun way of there's been a lot of Boimler stuff over the last few episodes, so it was a fun way of sidelining the character to give Tendi particularly more of an opportunity to kind of come to the forefront in this episode, since we've not had she's been in a decent number of episodes, but we've not had a really good Tendi story this season since episode 2.
Yeah. Okay, anything else we want to say about Boimler?
One thing, I thought it worked for the scene, but it doesn't actually make sense that the Ferengi, games attendant or pit boss or whatever, didn't know that Starfleet doesn't use money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
It worked for the scene, but
yeah. Well, you could take that as him just being offended at the concept,
or that just like, well, I know they don't use money, but sometimes they want to keep it anyway. I guess could be. Yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The idea that anybody would not walk away with that amount of latinum.
I want
is very confusing.
Paramount to sell those Ferengi ears.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I want them to re-release the little plushie.
Yes.
Because I didn't even know that existed.
Oh yeah, I got the little plushie up on the bookshelf up there. I get the whole set of them. It's a cool set. They're actually, if you go on eBay, just type in Star Trek Alien Beans. They're not expensive, and they come up fairly regularly.
Cool. That's money I don't need to spend. All right.
Because they were not expensive when they first came out. They were like $10 each.
When did those happen? I don't
They were
even
sold at the
remember
Experience.
seeing those. Oh, that's why. Okay. Yeah. All right. Even more, then that's even a better connection with Quarks and the gift shop and all of that. I love it.
Did you guys see that someone, in honor of the Experience, someone who worked there posted full shots of the original menu from Quarks on Twitter?
Yes, I've got one too.
Cool.
I've actually got I've got the opening menu and I've got the closing menu as well.
Nice.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to look for that.
Yes, if anybody's interested, you can go on eBay right now, and that will still be true when this episode drops, and get a set of the 5 Alien Bean plushies for $21.70 with $9.98
Okay, that
shipping.
might not still be true when this episode.
Yeah, that one won't be there. But...
There's a Ferengi, a Gorn, a Vulcan, a Targ, and an Andorian. That's the full set of 5 that they
Interesting.
made.
Alex, this is the second time in 2 days that we've been talking on a podcast, and while you're talking about something, I've gone online to buy it.
Okay, so we've established that Paramount needs to hire you for merchandising because...
Or specifically
it's
marketing
currently
to Thad.
21.
Marketing.
Yeah,
excuse
but
me.
nobody's going to bid for it except for anybody who listens to this episode and is intrigued to make your life more difficult.
Darn it, and it ends in 3 days and 17 hours, so other people are going to listen to this.
The question is, how much do you trust your listenership? If we say right now...
Not at all.
If we say right now that Thad would really like to get that set, and so if you would do him the terrific favor of not bidding it up so that he can win it and add a full set of Alien Beans to his collection, knowing that there are other sets or individual ones available for purchase if you just search Star Trek Alien Beans on eBay. Let's
or
see.
we could take the entire conversation off the podcast. And then we won't know.
No, but I like the idea of everybody knowing that anytime I'm on a podcast with you, I convince you to buy something new.
There is a potential for an interesting social experiment here.
It's you
All right,
and Jamie
well,
Rogers. I have both of you wound around my little finger when it comes to buying stuff.
I have bid $30. If one of our listeners wants to pay more than $30, you are welcome to do so.
So, that brings us to Beckett and Jennifer. Do we have a last name for Jennifer?
No.
Thylan.
I didn't think so.
Oh, we do. Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Cool.
Where was that from?
I believe that is from the personnel files in the Sherry Yim Yam episode.
Ah, that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so that is continuing. She invites her to see her friends so that she can rip into them. That doesn't
Jennifer's
feel like
got
friendship.
some issues, I think, with her friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Jennifer was looking forward to seeing Mariner tear them a new one. Which, I mean, and when you watch the episode a second time, or a third, or fourth, or fifth, you can see there's the scene where Jennifer smiles because she thinks Mariner is about to blow up at them, and then she doesn't.
Yes.
And she's also totally down and laughs when Mariner phasers her friends. Like, this is not a healthy relationship.
Wait, it's not a healthy relationship between Jennifer and Mariner, or not a healthy relationship between Jennifer and her friends?
Certainly not with her friends. I think it's probably it's not 100% healthy between Jennifer and Mariner, but certainly not between Jennifer and her other friends.
I mean, I'm not sure anything with Mariner is definitely healthy.
Right.
No. Yeah, that felt very 90s, not 90s Trek, but like 90s high school and college with the, let's sit around and make candles, make bad poetry, and snap our fingers like we're at a coffee shop.
There is no right way to dance the Kobayashi Maroon.
No, there is not. There is not.
Honestly, I found it kind of relatable. I've had group of friends.
Oh, absolutely.
I've had groups of friends in my life that I have spent a lot of time with because, and this does not apply to any of the groups of friends in my life right now. Stand down.
Good caveat.
There. But I have had.
That's
groups,
good because I was about to make a joke.
I have had groups of friends in my life. Honestly, during periods of time when I was like, I'm not really a Star Trek fan. When
you were in denial, okay.
Yeah, exactly. When I was in the closet. Go through it. When I have spent a lot of time with people because they were the only people around to spend time with, and so yes, they were your friends, but like the moment you sort of left that situation, you were like, I'm never going to talk to those people ever again in my life, right? Like, and now you look back on it, for me, 14 years later, and you're just like, okay, I understand in the moment why I did that, but like, I didn't really connect with those people in the way that, I connect to some of the other people in my life, let's say today. And yeah, it just felt in that way, it felt very similar and right to me. And, who knows the direction that the Mariner-Jennifer relationship ultimately goes in. But there is sort of this element of like, and this did not happen for me during that period in my life, but I could very easily have seen a set of circumstances where during that period I'm hanging out with a group of people thinking I'm having a great time, but actually I'm maybe not. Somebody entering my life who is like the kind of person I actually want to hang out with and actually who really does kind of fit my personality and who I am, and wanting to kind of use that person as a way of leveraging myself out of the relationships that I'm in right now, and being like, oh my God, I finally discovered the person that I want to be and the people that I want to be with, and I want to move in that direction rather than dancing the Kobayashi Maroon and setting my intentions. Or whatever the equivalent was for that period in my life.
Yeah.
No, I can definitely feel you. The friends of convenience rather than necessarily friends through shared interest and personality.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In which case, phaser the hell out of them is what it's my perspective on it. I really hope none of those people are going to listen to this podcast. Of course they won't. None of them cared about Star Trek.
Well, then that's why
that was part of the problem. That was the problem.
That's why they're not worth being your friends. Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, I
find
do
out
have
that you have a stalker
some
from
friends who
college
don't
or
watch
something.
Star Trek, but like, not a lot. Most of my friends are Star Trek people. Well, to be fair, I know a huge chunk of my friends because of Star Trek, so that helps.
Yep, sure does.
Yeah. I have lots of historian friends who are not necessarily Trekkies, and the ones that I treasure the most are the ones who are both. So, glaring plot hole in that about how at the end, Jennifer's right, they're the only ones who aren't unconscious. It does look odd, but then she stuns both of them together and she still has the phaser in her hand. It's like...
Yeah, that is one, because it's also like, everybody remembers, like, if I got shot by Mariner, I'm fairly sure when I woke up I would remember having been shot by Mariner.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
right.
It wiped my memory in the process, and it's just like,
Yeah.
who phasered all of us at the same time? Yes.
Of course. Yeah.
But, hey, it was fun.
Yeah, it was.
That's why they're afraid of her now.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So...
And that was a good scene.
Oh, that was beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. I had a moment of, what's wrong with you people? You don't realize that once the air stops circulating, the candles are going to start eating up the oxygen. Forget that they're a special kind of candle that eats twice as much.
Well, see, that's the thing. If they were normal candles, it would still take a long time for that to be a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give them that.
And, I mean, cannot possibly sacrifice our intentions.
No. Can't do that.
I also loved the scene when two of Jennifer's friends ask Mariner about Boimler. She's like, "Can we talk Boimler? He is so sexy." And she's like, "I need more for this."
She took the whole bottle, and they're just standing there going, "Oh, okay."
But I also like how she starts off saying, "No, he's not actually reverse aging." It's like,
Bad skin. The bad skin thing is just this keeps running through, and I feel bad for him. He is kind of adorable in a early Julian Bashir sort of way. You just want to be like, okay, sweetie, it's calm down.
yeah, he's a little puppy dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, puppy dog. That's good. That's a good way to put it. And obviously, none of Jennifer's friends are in security. I thought of that the first time I watched it. I was like, yeah, none of them know how to deal with this at all.
Yeah, right.
Somebody firing a phaser at them. So, yeah. Anything else we want to talk about?
Loved it. So happy to be back on Deep Space Nine. Yeah. More, please, Alex Kurtzman.
Yes.
Let's get a DS9 spin-off. Let's get a, I don't know, Quark's Cheers kind of thing going on.
Yeah, that's another way to get Armin Sheeran more practice with those teeth. Let's have DS9 Season 8 animated.
Works for me.
That would work. That'd be beautiful. All right, well, I think we have dug as much out of this episode as we can, other than just wanting more and more.
And honestly, if they're worried about characters playing different people, I would point out that I recently saw him in a Broadway performance. Rene Auberginois' son, Remy, is also an actor, so they could,
Ah.
And he does look like his father. I mean, he looks like his father like 40 years ago, but he looks like his father. Yeah. That would be good. Yeah. So, normally we do canon connections, but that's everything. Was there anything big that we didn't mention? I'm trying to think. I'm sure I'll remember one later, but
there's the scene where Rutherford goes up to sit on the promenade, dangles his legs down, and then when Tendi says they have to go, he's like, "But I wanted to have a heart-to-heart with a junior reporter up here." Yeah.
I mean, one thing just to say would be shout out to the Lower Decks animators for...
Oh, gods, yes.
Like, I mean, that is an exacting recreation of the Deep Space Nine sets from the various angles that they picked.
Including some angles that we never could have seen on the show because they didn't make that part of the promenade.
Yeah. Yerk pointed out on Twitter that because you don't see any part of Quark's in one of the shots, that means that it is since the promenade is a circle, you're seeing the other half of the circle that Quark's is not on, which you never saw on the show because, as you said, Thad, they never built that part of the promenade set. Any time they shot on the promenade, you could always see some part of Quark's because it was a big part of that set and took up the whole thing. But like, you look at some of this, like the shot from over sort of Quark's shoulder, out the kind of back of the or the front of the bar, and you've got the Bajoran temple across the way, same as on the original set. You know, Ops, that shot where they kind of pan across Ops and someone beams into the, you know, the transporter pad. It just, everything about it was so visually evocative of that show originally. And, like, honestly, if they did live action and they went back to Deep Space Nine, you'd have to rebuild those sets, and I don't think you could rebuild them to exactly the same exacting standards that they rebuilt this one in animated form. And so this is probably the sort of truest way that you can revisit those original sets possible. And so, and it makes such a difference to the episode in terms of, you know, sort of setting your intention of believing that you are, you know, back on Deep Space Nine and experiencing this thing, and that you're seeing what happened to these characters after the end of the show. So, I mean, obviously, you know, plenty of credit as part of that goes to Grace Janae Parra, who is the writer, and obviously Mike McMahon and the rest of the writing staff, and Nanar Visitor, and Armin Shimmerman, and Fred Tatasciore as the Karma, but, like, also, I think, extra kudos this week to the animators for really, you know, sparing no expense in terms of recreating the details of all of those sets in animated form.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was gorgeous.
Absolutely.
I didn't think about that with the angles that we hadn't seen, but of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I admit I didn't either. I am, like Alex, using what other people have said on the internet as my own. That was definitely something that was from your Killerbrand on Twitter.
Yeah.
But one other reference that made me laugh, at least, was at the very beginning when Mariner's trying to find a way to get out of going to the salon with Jennifer. She says, well, I should tag along with these guys, because without me they'll probably get lost and end up in a mirror universe with Smiley.
Yes. Actually, that brings we didn't talk about, obviously Mariner was on the station for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, or she was with a ship that was regularly back to that station.
Well, she said she was assigned to DS9 at one point.
Okay, okay. There you go. I couldn't remember if she was there or if it was... But I let's put that in a comic. Mm-hmm. I want that in a comic. I want the story of you know, Mariner's Dominion War.
Yeah, sure.
But, you know, and it doesn't have to be heavy and serious either. It can be ridiculous, particularly depending on which point of the war you're talking about.
Sure.
So, yeah, I want that story. All right, well, I think our final thoughts are the same. Let's do this every season. All right? Anything else?
Loved it. Great episode.
Loved it. Mm-hmm. I absolutely adore it. I want more Lower Decks, always and forever.
Yes.
Please and thank you.
All right. Well, Alex, thank you so much for joining us today. We know listeners can find you online, read your reviews on Trek Core, and listen to you on Weekly Trek, and listen to you with Thad on Weekly Trek this week. But is there anything else you want to tell people about?
No, just thank you for having me on to talk about the best episode so far this season of Season 3 of Lower Decks.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on. And, yeah, best episode. I'm putting this is definitely top 5 of the whole series. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I think Wedge Douche is still a little better.
I think it's Crisis Point for me.
Oh, Crisis Point is so good.
Crisis Point is
such
also
a
really
great episode.
Crisis Point's my second favorite after Wedge Douche,
right.
I think.
Well, still top 5 then. Well, that's why, you know, not top 1. All right. Okay. Thad, where can people find you when you are not looking for heart-to-hearts with junior reporters on balconies?
Best place to find me is on Twitter, at Tyrannicus. That's Tyranicus. You can also hear me on the podcast I do with my friend Carl about the James Bond films called License to Spiel. That's license spelled with a C like the British do it. Chrissie, where can people find you when you're not phasering all of your significant other's friends?
Ooh. Yeah. Nah, Jay's got good friends. Yeah. That's all right. Right. In addition to here on Infinite Diversity, you can find me on History with the Szilagys here on BQN, and that's a twice-weekly history short podcast that I do with my fellow historian partner, Jason. I'm also happy to chat about our shows on the BQN Collective on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter at The Goddess Livia, that's TheGoddessLivia, where I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics.
Don't forget all our other great shows on BQN podcasts like Galaxy Class, All Good Things, Mickey's Marvels, Union Federation, History with the Szilagys, and What's the T-Bev. And exclusively for our Patreon members, there's It's Green with Mark White and Amy's Math Moment.
Thank you so very much for tuning in to Infinite Diversity. Thank you to Zach Tripp for the great theme music and Tony Robinson for the nice show art. Please subscribe in your favorite podcast player, and don't forget to rate and review us there as well.
If you want to reach out, you can find the network on Twitter at BQN Podcast, or our show specifically at IDIC Podcast. You can also talk about any and all of the BQN podcasts in our Facebook group, the BQN Collective. When you next hear from us, we'll be talking about A Mathematically Perfect Redemption, the next episode of Lower Decks. Until then, peace and long life.